Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. I want to introduce to you our newest host, Julie, and she has an interesting story to share, her own history and experiences. And we'll let Julie explain, and hopefully we'll learn a lot of interesting things. And she'll be hosting a series about non-traumatic acquired brain injury and her own experiences. So, Julie?
Good day, Mark. Hi, everyone. Yes, my name's Julie Brago. I was an actuary at one time, which is a math geek and a business geek. And I'm well educated, came from a strongly, strongly linked family, and I've made it through my brain injury, anoxic brain injury, with the help of my friends and family. It's been hard. I wouldn't choose it for anyone else, but I think it's something that I'll live with it, and I think others can learn to live with it as well as I have. So I'm lucky. I have people that help me regularly, except on the weekend. I don't always have somebody, but I have people that I hire and they help me and they become my friends. I'm pretty personable, so I'm lucky that way as well. And I have one son. He's the light of my life. And I got kicked out of his house by his father, and that was hard. And I was very angry at the time, but I've overcome the anger, and I just care about my son Ben. And I feel like I said to his father, his welfare is the most important thing to me now. And if you do anything to change the value of his welfare, I will do something to you that you won't like. I wasn't threatening. I was just telling him what I would do. And he understood that. And I felt like he ripped me away from him. And so I didn't want him to know that I was going to be ripped away easily. I'm a fighter of sorts. I used to take actuary exams, and it took about 10 years, pushing 10 years to finish. And I come from a family of survivors. So I had a cardiac arrest on the soccer field, as I think I mentioned, or Mark may have mentioned, but I was playing soccer and I used to be a runner. So I was very lucky, as I said, because I was with somebody else on the soccer field who gave me good CPR, and I'm a survivor. So I consider myself a survivor, and with good hair. Some days not as good, but and I like people to think of me as a good person in a sound mind. And that's something that's a challenge sometimes, because many people don't think of me as sound mind. They think I am like crazy because I had a cardiac arrest, but I'm not. I'm a little crazy because I ran a marathon, but I'm not a crazy person. So,
Yeah,
um,
well, honestly, like to run a marathon, that's tough. You know what though? That does reflect a toughness. I just like, it's like listening. I know we've talked about this before, but it's like a lot. To be a survivor of any kind of brain injury requires a certain toughness, and so cardiac. How old were you when you had your cardiac arrest again? I
I was
forget.
about 37-ish, pushing 40.
All right, so what effects did your cardiac arrest? No, it's because you were down for a while, right?
I was down. I was unconscious for a month, I think.
Okay.
But then I had to go to a facility, a rehab hospital, then a rehab facility, where they taught me to walk and use the toilet appropriately as I
Right.
to learn all these things again. So that's like going back to your childhood.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I did learn a lot, and I know I can continue learning, and I have understood that I know there are limits to what I can learn, but I have understood that there is more that I can learn than I have already. So there's different avenues that I can explore from here. So I'm looking
Right.
forward to exploring those avenues.
I must tell you, it's like I admire that toughness, that dogged determination. I mean, that's hallmark for all of us with brain injury. It doesn't matter whether it's a car wreck or whether, like you, it's cardiac arrest. I mean, we saw with that football player who went down from commotio cordis. Um, it's like all of us, it's like we learn to be fighters and survivors. I admire that, in you, and like all of us have had to. For me, it was much later when I went to rehab. They used to feel that like people with moderate brain injuries, you're fine, like a week or two of rehab. And that's not enough. You have to learn how to read, write, talk, walk again, everything else. For me, it was 10 years before I got appropriate rehab. But for and I had huge gaps in my reading skills, my writing skills, my math skills were toast, which weren't the world's best, but they were good enough. I mean, I was able to do a lot of stuff like here that I needed to, but after my injury, there were big gaps. Like I said, they weren't the best anymore, and so I needed to like go back, work on, the skills that.
Yeah, yeah, we all do. I think when something like a brain injury happens, we have to figure out what the areas to work on the most are, and then plow forward, and and as my friend from college said, put a little lippy on and smile. What else are you gonna do? It's just life. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do. And I've lost a few people in my life to heaven, and that happens, and I miss them. Yeah, but everybody, that happens to everyone. I mean, it happened to my own family, to their families, So it's just accepting what life has brought me and brings all of us. So
And we need to do, like I think I've always felt like when it comes to this, it's like we're one big family. We survivors. It doesn't matter whether it's car accidents or whether it's cardiac arrest or whether it's, due to exposure to a chemical or, because those kind of factors happen, or whether it's like gunshot wounds. Some people have been shot, in domestic violence. A spouse, shoots them or like all kinds of stuff like that. And so it's a matter, I've always said we're one big, perhaps a little dysfunctional family, uh,
a
but
little.
a little, a little. But
You gotta
look at
laugh. What else are we gonna do? You gotta laugh.
yeah, that is a great way of because a lot of people who are survivors are like very bitter and angry all the time. And it's like part of that is the brain injury. Yes, I understand that, and part of it is it's like always looking to the past and can't do that. Got to look forward, what we have to offer.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I've asked you. I mean, I know like normally, it's like when we talk, it's like, not only admire, what you bring, but also you have that drive forward. And I like that. And so that's what I'm hoping here. It's like, that's what I'm asking is like sharing your wisdom and sharing what you've learned and hopefully helping other new survivors. And that's what we're going to be doing is like finding what you'd like to talk about, what you'd share in the future. So, um, just, like, so want to say thank you for being willing, to share with us and, your
My pleasure.
remarkable
Yeah.
story. So,
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Mark. I used to be a very shy person, and then somebody said to me when I was probably like 17 or something, said, the shyness isn't gonna pay. And it might have been
mm,
my family member. So I said, you know what? That's right. It isn't. Not gonna be shy anymore. And I
mm,
speak with sound words. I don't know. I like to say with sound mind, but I know that's a touchy subject with people with brain injury who
mm.
people don't like that. I feel like that's not necessarily, not necessarily a sound mind of every brain injury.
Well,
I
I'm,
could be mistaken. You know more than I do, Mark Black, but I say
well,
we all have good minds and we
mhm.
have to learn to use them in many different ways.
I would argue, well, brain injury is not a mental illness per se. It can cause some, but I would argue, that we are sound mind, just different. We aren't who we were before in many ways, but we're just as mentally healthy. We may have specific aspects of mental illness due to brain injury because we're like 8 times more likely to be depressed, 6 times more likely to have anxiety, and yes, some personality disorder aspects depending on what part of our brain is injured. And yes, we may have memory problems, fatigue, and those other symptoms, but we're just as mentally sound as anyone else. People who like to push us around accuse us of things like that, which is totally unacceptable, and we need to fight that.
We believe that it's not right to be push anyone around, but
No, it's not. And we need to fight that.
I don't know. I maybe it's the language you're using, but I'm not a fighter, so I think we can conquer by a more
Mm-hmm. Well,
we can overcome the differences with strength of heart, desire, and fortitude, willingness to work hard to achieve the things we want to achieve.
well,
You
like
might
I said,
disagree. I think you do.
well, no, and that's fine. It's like I'm also an advocate, though. And my job is also to against societal prejudice and stuff like that. So I've always
No, I
been.
agree. I do agree with you, Mark. There is a huge societal prejudice, and I think there are a few magazines like there's a contingencies magazine, I think it is. Have you heard of that magazine?
No, I haven't.
Maybe it's an actuary thing, but because it sounds like it might be an actuary thing. But I
That I
read it,
wouldn't
and I'm
know.
like, oh, it's a good magazine. And I used to read quite a lot. I read a lot in college and everything. So I don't like to read that much. So
That's common.
I've been
After.
yeah, I thought it was, but I didn't know that for certain.
Yeah.
I have short stories, which I don't love as much because I'm a little bit of a reading snob, but I don't feel they develop the characters well enough. But I like short stories sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
like these magazines that I mentioned, and here's another thing that I like because I like color and brightness and uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the color of books, and children's books are good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's not learning how to what a children's book describes as use the toilet properly, or
Right.
just the beauty of the picture they make with the book itself. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy, everyone does these things, so we have to
Right.
we know there are different ways to approach them
Mm-hmm.
because they do them all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Different languages work, and I think using different ways of thinking about using the toilet, for instance. I know it's silly and we can laugh about it, and I hope we do because I'm a little bit embarrassed that I'm talking about this, but what the hey, it's just life. Everybody uses a
Yeah.
toilet.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I do think, that we need to be honest too, with ourselves and with other people. Well,
Yeah, honesty is the way I think is the best policy. That's how I was raised. I imagine
yeah,
many who are watching were also raised that way. But
I would hope so.
I mean, I've been in a diaper because after my cardiac arrest,
Right.
not my kid diaper, my adult diaper.
Yeah, no, 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 no. And guess what?
And it's
Most
hard.
of us had some of that after we were
Yeah,
hurt. I mean, that's
it's
it's
hard. I wish it didn't happen, but it did. So
you know, look, you are dealing with the rest of us, with your brain and your family. Most of us had some of that. And most of
yeah,
us were at least a little bit, depending on how severe. The truth is, acquired brain injury in general is a devastating um, disorder. It is chronic, and it affects not just us but our families. And
yeah,
a lot of us let pride get in the way. This is a serious topic. Let pride get in the way, and rather than standing up and speaking up. This is what I talk about fighting and about being a warrior by nature. Rather than saying, acting against the injuries and of society against those of us. They just will, nope, this didn't happen. Nope, not written, no. You need to say, look, this is what happens with brain injury, and we need to do more pay, we need to fund better and stand strong
Yeah, we
against
need
people.
to.
Instead, they just quietly like, nope, this person's not part, nope, yeah, out of pride. No, we need to do better. We need to do more money for research and to help people, whether it's cardiac arrest, whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think there needs to be more research done upon brain injury, all different types of brain injuries. Exactly, but
And we need to train
um,
doctors, nurses, people like that more and more about it. It's not well understood. That's why you need like I'm a specialist in brain injury, but there are very few docs or nurses who know much about it. Even the neurologists don't know a whole lot about it because they have to learn everything. They've got to learn about seizures and about Alzheimer's and about like sensory disorders for and spinal injury and all this. So they don't learn or aren't very exposed. It's not being critical of these doctors. It's just that that's not their focus. It can't be. So that you have to look for brain injury specialists, and there are very few of them. And there are even fewer nurses that are experts in it, and few psychologists, no therapists, and very few of us who've made it their career. And those who have, mainly because it's happened to them or a loved one. And so
yeah,
we need to push
I'm
for,
glad you make it their special, make it your specialty. I would like to help, and I am going to donate.
and that as well. Mhm. Well, you know how you can help us right here is doing exactly what you're doing right here, right now.
Yeah, I think it'll work. So yeah. So is there anything else you would like?
No, for this video, I just want to say thank you so much for oh, I do want to ask one quick thing. What currently would you say are the greatest challenges you have before we go
Oh,
right now?
the greatest challenges I have encountered, and I mean right now, are
Hmm.
people getting people to trust that I'm a good person. They judge the brain, and they know I have a brain injury, and think I'm a, I'm a dunce or something because I have a brain injury, and I'm not.
Oh, they think you're dumb.
They don't trust who I am as a person, and I think that's unfortunate, but that's what I think trust is what I'm working on a lot.
What do you mean they don't trust you're a good person? Have you said something or done something that makes them say that, or just because of your brain injury they don't
Well,
trust your?
one of my aides didn't trust me to drive, and I said, "Well, I
Oh,
need
your
to drive."
skills.
And you said, "You've never seen me drive," and she said, "Yeah, but you have a brain injury."
Yes, that is a big problem. You're right about trusting our mental and physical. That is a
Yeah,
huge problem.
and then I think that's important because we have to teach one another. She taught
Yeah.
me the love she has for her family, and when she came to my house, and I didn't know she was coming, but she
Well,
brought her family Christmas Eve, and it was lovely. I feel, but I'm very lucky they came, and
yeah,
they,
we
they
need
came,
to
and she
stress
taught
that.
me the importance of her family, and that I have that same importance with my
Yes,
family, as you know.
absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. It's like, and unfortunately, the people who tend to hurt us the most tend to be our non-chosen family. It tend to be our blood family because they know how we were before or whatever else, and they're used to us being one way or growing up one way, and they're used to us fitting into a specific role. And like everybody who hosts on here, I can tell you, everybody who's ever, who's a host for me, the people that have had the hardest time adjusting are their biological family because it's like you're a different person now. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not an easy injury.
yeah. And it's like you are not your brain injury, you are Julie.
I'm still Julie Frago. Yeah,
Yes. And getting people to understand that, it's like underneath all, the challenges you face, you're still Julie.
yeah,
Yeah. If you or anyone else out there can solve this challenge,
yeah.
um,
I mean,
you'll
life
be
presents
revered.
many challenges to each and every one of us. Those in
Yes.
other countries all have very great challenges, well, third world especially, I'm thinking, and with the economy, the way the world economy, as crazy as it is,
Everybody does.
there's a money issue.
Oh,
There's like an innumerable number of issues to each and every human.
hmm. Yeah, no, you're right.
I think we need to trust one another a little more, you know?
And love and support each other too, regardless.
Yes, support is very, very important. Thank you, Mom.
It's like we're here for each other as hosts too, and it's like as I've said to those of us who are, each other hosting here, it's like we're all part of one big family. And, sometimes, it's like everybody, all of us, to each other have said, some of the biggest challenges are the psychosocial ones, the emotional, the psychological, and getting family to understand. Lisa, who is like one of my longest hosts, has talked about the challenges of family and like getting people to understand her videos. And anyone's interested, we could like provide the links below. Like she explains and talks a lot about like issues between spouses or kids and parents and understanding. So she gets into that. She's a victim of TBI, traumatic brain injury, and she talks about like issues of that. But this applies to everybody. And so I urge you to look at those videos as well and listen to Julie as she goes forward, and she'll talk about different issues as they apply. Because whether you have a traumatic brain injury or a non-traumatic acquired brain injury, it doesn't matter. It's still the same issues because the challenges we face are the same.
I agree. I'm glad you said that. I didn't, you said it before, Mark, but I didn't remember that exactly.
Yeah, memory. That's one of those things too. I know that, especially as the day wears on, mine gets crappier and crappier. My memory, my ability to find words.
Well, we all age and and
Well,
that is contribution too.
it's yes, yeah, absolutely. So we not only have brain injuries, we also age like everybody else. And you add those things together, it makes it twice as hard. And then we're at increased risk for other disorders too, which check out Nietzsche's rocking chair, where I talk about issues of acquired brain injury and progressive neurological disorders. Because just because you've had a brain injury doesn't make you immune from other neurological disorders, but I do get into the basis for that. All right, Julie, I'm going to thank you very much for everything, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, good. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.